today, everybody. This is Michael out in Maui. Aloha. So if you've been enjoying all the content that I've been putting out, I recommend subscribing to the channel. By subscribing, you'll be notified every single time I put out a new video. So today, this is going out to all the beginners. Stop trying to throw flat. As a beginner, don't try to throw the disc flat. The progression to learn to throw flat needs to start by throwing a hyzer. You start learning how to throw by throwing the disc here, which is going to throw the disc on a slight hyzer flight. The reason you want to start by learning to throw a hyzer, for backhand or forehand. Forehand, you start by throwing a hyzer. You don't start throwing flat on a forehand either. So the progression is you need to learn body mechanics. Why do so many people who are learning, beginners, grip lock? I mean, that's the number one throwing mistake all beginners make, is grip locking. You stand up straight, you throw with flat shoulders, and you grip lock it. That's the number one throw of a beginner. Why is that? Well, because everybody wants to throw straight. But throwing straight is, you're skipping from throwing a hyzer to throwing straight, and you're not learning the proper body mechanics, to throw. If you start by learning to throw a hyzer, just run up, head on top, throw the hyzer, shoulders rotate up here. This is how you should learn to throw. If your disc is hyzering really hard, find a disc that's not so stable. But you want to throw just like this. So you come in, you set up, come in, X step, stride out, throw a hyzer. This is going to teach you to keep your head on top. It's going to teach you to rotate your shoulders up this way to throw. Once you've learned to throw like this, bent leg, foot perpendicular, head on top, throw. Once you've learned these body mechanics, now you can start moving into throwing flat. Because when you throw flat, your shoulder still needs to rotate up. And that's what you're not learning by throwing flat at the beginning. Because if you just start trying to throw flat right here, you open your shoulders flat this way, and it causes a grip lock. But on a flat shot, your shoulders still rotate up this way. Like when I throw a flat shot, I hold the disc up higher on my chest, because that's a flat shot. But when I throw the disc, I'm going to rotate up still. This shoulder's going to be up this way. So I'm straighter on this way, but I'm still on top. You don't ever want to throw with flat shoulders this way. So when you're throwing, you need to start by just learning to throw a hyzer. Down here, throw the disc. If the disc is hyzering really hard, throw a different disc until you get one that's not so hard. And it's the same progression for a forehand. A forehand, you start throwing from here. Head on top, bent over, throw the disc on a hyzer. When you're throwing a forehand, you have to learn to keep your hand below the elbow here. You don't want this disc up here. And this happens to all the beginners because you're throwing up here. Everybody's trying to throw it flat on a forehand. A forehand isn't a flat shot. It's a right-hand turn shot. But it's the same progression. Learn to throw here, wrist below the elbow, learn to push with your fingers, throw, a hyzer. Then as you get better, you can start to stand up straighter, but you're still gonna keep your arm and hand below the elbow. I can stand up and throw here. Like if I come in standing up straighter, the throw is still here. Elbow, hand is below the elbow, yet I'm standing up straighter. But the problem most people have is they're trying to throw flat with their forehands. So they're running up straight, standing up here, you run up, you throw up here, and the first thing you do is you roll the wrist up. You see how my wrist is cocked up? That's the number one throw of beginners on a forehand. They've cocked the wrist up, it puts it above the elbow. But that's so like I said, you're skipping. You gotta go back to throwing a hyzer so you can learn how to throw here, keeping your wrist down. Then as you get better, you can come up a little higher and throw from up here, but the wrist is always below the elbow. And that's what you gotta learn from throwing hyzers down here. So, like I said, most of the time beginners go right into trying to throw flat. Throwing flat on a hyzer, or throwing flat on a forehand or a backhand is hard. It's probably the hardest shot in disc golf is throwing flat. But all the beginners want to learn to throw flat. So I just recommend, as a beginner, learn to throw a hyzer, learn the body positions, then move into throwing flat. And same thing with the forehand. Start by throwing hyzers, learn the body positioning and where your arm needs to be, and then slowly move up to throwing flat. But you have to do that progression, that way you learn how the body needs to be, all the body angles. You can't just jump into throwing flat. It's really hard. So anyways, this is Michael out in Maui. Aloha.